Oh, hello. What's happening, people? A little bit of a different vibe today. You're at my home with me. Welcome. Today, I am flying to London, Heathrow. And then I got to play on a television show in 2 days. It's a morning show. Can't remember the name of it right now, but it's one of those morning kind of news programs, morning news variety sort of programs with Classic Rock Show. So I'll be doing that, and then I fly to Malta to play a show with those guys. So I've never been to Malta before. Anybody out there been to Malta? Is that cool? Looks beautiful. Looks old and historic and wonderful. So looking forward to it. And I feel like I got to sneeze. Oh, sure enough. Today we're drinking the Nespresso Verturo Starbucks blend, which is pretty good actually. The blonde Starbucks roast situation, made on my espresso machine, and with my famous mug that I picked up in Germany a while back. So this week I filmed a video and recorded a video for the Halcyon from Origin Effects, and I'll put that out as soon as I edit it, which I'll probably do on the plane or something. So early next week, Monday, Tuesday, something like that, I'll put that out. It's a tube screamer style pedal, but what they've done is actually pretty cool. They've got a couple different modes in it that give you different voicings, and there's a couple different adaptive voicings. Because what you might notice about a tube screamer versus like a Timmy or a Jan Ray or something like that is that they tend to thin out the bass more. So like if you're hitting the front end of either a big blown up Fender that can kind of, you know what I mean? It can tend to tighten it up and yet offer more mids and girth into the front end and boost and stuff. It's a cool thing about a screamer. But you go to the neck pickup or maybe, split coil, sorry, I don't mean split. I mean, the position 2 or 4 on a Strat or something. And then you roll down your volume for a cleaner sound, but leave it on because you want the mid character of the pedal, and it can be kind of thin sounding. So with the Halcyon, they have this adaptive voicing thing where the less input signal I think it gets, the more it kind of boosts bass and treble. And there's 2 different settings. It's really interesting. So it works really well. What I like out of the Jan Ray, the Vemram pedal, and also like a Timmy and different, they give a more sort of natural low end sound, but you maybe can't get that same screamer tightness out of one of those pedals. So anyway, it does that really well. It kind of adapts. It's adaptive is what they say. So roll down the volume on the guitar down to, 3 or 4 or something, hit the neck pickup, and you have the nice fat mid screamer thing, semi overdriven still, but it almost sounds clean, right? With a more natural top end and low end so anyway, that's coming. That little video will be out very soon. What else have I got to tell you? Man, I'm traveling light on this, and we'll see how it goes. I did a gig last week with Five for Fighting, where all I took was the quad Cortex and a couple Seymour Duncan Power Stage 200s to power just the onstage cab. It's not mic'd or anything, just for my onstage signal. It worked quite well. On this one, I'm only bringing one Duncan, just mono, with the quad, because I'm going to Malta, and it's like they're like, your baggage allowance is 22 kilograms. I'm like, I don't even know how that's possible with a guitar, your clothes for a week and stuff, and a rig that you can actually play through to do a show in front of a bunch of people. It's like, okay, we're getting ridiculous now. We got to start putting the guitar rig in the phone. But nonetheless, the part of the thing with Classic Rock Show is that the tones and the parts and everything are really accurate to the original version. So you don't want to show up and just play into whatever. You could, but it wouldn't be as good as when I play the, Spirit of Radio. I want to have like the flanger and, the one thing I didn't bring, because I am doing Spirit of Radio, the one thing I didn't bring is a wah, because I just I can't fit like an expression pedal. My one that works really well with my quad Cortex is the Source Audio one. It works great. It feels really good, like a normal pedal, like a wah or something. But I picked it up, and it's like, this thing is like, it's 3 or 4 pounds, which is like, it's going to put me over. I know it and I don't even have space. I'm taking very little stuff. So I'm going to try and program the touch wah in it to be for the solo, which I should be able to do. I've done that before. You guys ever do that? Where you use an envelope follower in place of a wah, and you just kind of try and nail the threshold and stuff, so it sounds, you know, it'll be fine. Everybody will have a good time. Nobody will care. I'll figure it out. But little things, these are the kinds of things that I think about. How am I going to do the wah? You know, and it's like, you know. Oh, all right. What else are you guys talking about? Let's see. Rob Chappers lives in Malta. That's true. He does. Yeah. I spoke with him about it. I saw him at the NAMM event earlier this year, and I think I'm going to probably see him there. He told me all about it, and I learned a few things I didn't know about Malta, how old it is, and how he was mentioning that back when people first settled there, how many thousands of years ago, there was a lot of fruit trees planted all over the island. And he said you could basically walk around and just pick fruit. And, you know, it's everywhere, I guess. So that sounds really interesting. It's going to be an interesting place. The cradle of civilization and all that. There's a super chat there I got to grab, so I'll do that in a sec. But Rock and Rolling says, took my old DSL out for a gig on Friday instead of my expensive amp, and it sounded really good. Something about the upper mids doesn't sound great by yourself, but great in a band. Yeah, that's the Marshall thing. They're a little dry and raspy on their own and can be kind of, you know, but when you hear them in context, they cut right through. Same thing with the Vox. I mean, in a similar way, it's a voicing that cuts through a band and works really well. You know, it's all about what the song sounds like in context, I think, not by yourself, right? So a DSL, I always say a DSL is a pretty good amp, really. I had one, you know, it was my amp that I used for, I think around 98 or 99. I got one and I used it for till like 2001 or 2, like good solid 2-3 years. That was the only amp I really had that I didn't have a lot of money and didn't have a lot of gear. Had a simple effects rig. I did have a little switching rig. I had a 6-space rack with a ground controller and a GCX with some pedals on a little drawer, and I had a Rocktron Replifex. So I would run the Replifex in the loop of the DSL, and I would run like a Phase 90. I think I had a Ibanez, one of those sound lock analog sounding delays. I don't know if it was actually analog, dark sounding delay in front of the amp, couple of drives. And, you know, all the reverb and delay were coming out of the Replifex. I would channel switch the Marshall via the GCX, and it worked good. You know, it was a good little rig. Simple. Dumb question. You're not touring with Rod Stewart, are you? No. No, I don't. My friend Kurt plays bass with him, I think. He was the bass player originally in Five for Fighting when I started touring with Five for Fighting back 20 years ago, but I think Kurt's playing with Rod. But no, I came close once. Around 2004, I got a call to go audition, and he was doing kind of like mostly that kind of American songbook thing back then, which was jazz, really. I mean, it was like, you know, it sounded like standards, you know, to me. I don't remember the songs, but a little bit of the rock stuff, but it was more that scene. And I was going to audition, and it was a big audition. It was like 18 or 20 songs, and in a style that I'm not familiar with. You know, and I actually took a couple lessons. I remember to go, you know, it's cha-chunk, ka-chunk, 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 2 chords per bar, kind of jazz standard, kind of, you know, 2 chords per bar, and the changes are flying by, and you have to sound very relaxed doing it, and yet it's kind of flying by. And I started, I didn't want to read because I hate reading, especially in an audition. You know, you want to perform, right? So I was trying to learn all the material. I mean, it was a lot. It was like 18 or 20 tunes that were chords flying by, you know, jazz standard kind of tunes. And I was attempting to memorize it all. I had more energy back then. I would never do that now, I don't think. But anyway, I would do a lot still, but I'm not going to go do that. But then they called me, and it was like, yeah, audition's off. Like after like 3 weeks, it was like, yeah, I guess his original guitar player is still going to do it. So it's like, sorry. Oh, okay. But I didn't regret it. It's all about how you look at things, right? Because I was like, well, at least I kind of practiced really hard for 3 weeks, and I got a little bit of of a style underneath my hands. It was like I could do it. I was starting to get it and feel pretty good about it, like kind of cramming, like getting cramming style practice. And I felt like it was, it was a beneficial thing for me to do. So it's cool. Patrick says, if I send you a super chat, would you consider asking Sean Hurley? You don't have to send me a super chat, but I wish I could have had hours with you guys, but I would have loved to hear what the process was like recording Sob Rock, the new Mayer album, right? Funny you should mention. Okay, so here's what a small world it is. Kurt Schneider, who's the bass player I just mentioned, plays with Rod Stewart, was the engineer on Sob Rock. he was recording engineer, and he was up there at wherever they recorded in a house, I believe, for a while. So I got two guys that are connected to that connected to the whole process. As a matter of fact, I mean, I know John as well. John and I are like Instagram buddies, and we talk sometimes. So we were going back and forth last night because he was at the Motley Crue Def Leppard Poison show yesterday, which I loved. And I said, I sent him a DM or whatever, and I said, man, I love that you're at this show. That's great. Like, and he said, I get that all the time. Like, people wouldn't think I would, but he goes, I grew up with this music. That's what he said. And it was just kind of interesting. But he obviously he did Sob Rock. He's a fan of, the whole, he put together a whole rig with rock moons and all that stuff. So it's interesting. He loves, I think like a lot of us, that fellow likes a lot of music, and people might think that he's just into whatever he does, but that's not the case. I don't think. I think he's got a wide, he's deeper than just what you might hear him do on guitar himself musically. He likes a lot of different things, as are probably most of us, right? Like, I mean, he's pretty versatile, but that's for sure. But I like hearing old school country like George Jones, and I like blues, and I like metal. I like Gojira, and I like and I like the Bee Gees. So it's like we're all pretty all over the map sometimes, aren't we, with what we like? Anyways, Modern Vintage with the super chat there. Hi, any tips for buying original museum grade, like really good vintage Fenders and Marshalls? I would say if you're not afraid to pay, you got to go to the top. You got to go to Norm's or Gruen's or Rumble Seat, maybe in Nashville. What's the other one? Carter Vintage. A lot of times they've got stuff, but it's in the back, I think. Gruen's isn't. I mean, you see it in like in Norm's, where they'll go in the back and they'll pull those guitars out and show them to you, and they're in the back. They don't put them out in the store. So it's like, if you're like, hey, I'm seeking a line on like a 57 Strat, all original and really good condition or something, they just might have something or know of one from somebody that's willing to sell consignment, that kind of thing. So you want to start up a relationship with those people, and you're going to end up paying, but you're going to get something that's solid. So that's the way. I think if you got to ask for the secret stash, says Purposeful Porpoise. Yeah. Unless you've got a good friend that's got something they're selling and you have a line on it, and it's like, okay, that might be the way to get the best deal if they want to pass on a deal to you, but yeah. That was a super chat there from Rory. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. You guys are too kind with your super chats today. Today I'm going to hang till about, I can hang till about 1:30, I think. And then I got to spend about an hour packing, getting completed packing, and then getting out of here. It's always hard packing for trips like this because I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm going to Guitar Summit in Germany. And talk about that a little bit for a second, about what I'm doing there. Because it hasn't been exactly announced yet exactly what's going on. But I think what's going on, let me just double check something here. So I was going to see if I heard back from somebody. So I can't confirm one thing. But okay, I'm going to do two things at Guitar Summit. One of them is going to be Sunday live. Because I've got a Sunday slot there Now, it'll probably be kind of very early in the morning for a lot of you if you're in the US, but you guys in Europe, it'll be at a very convenient time. So I'll find out when it is, and we'll put up a watch thing. But it'll be a 45-minute Sunday live, not too long. But basically, get a room full of people, and I'll take questions from people there, but also from you guys, some of them on the screen, and I'll live stream it just like this on my laptop probably. And it'll be like a Q&A there in the room. And I may even start it with, I think, like a couple of kind of, I don't want to say canned questions, but pre-planned kind of like, okay, we've got some simple pedals here. Let's dial these pedals in on the fly for a great, versatile variety of tones, so that we can, if you were setting up an amp, for like a cover gig or something like that, you would have, my laundry's going off. So do that, like spend 5-10 minutes, just really quick, compressor, delay, distortion pedal, a boost into the distortion for leads, and then how I would set the amp, that kind of thing. And, have that going, and then go from there. Maybe that just goes off into people saying, okay, but what about if the order of the pedals are, whatever, that kind of thing. So it's going to be Sunday live at Guitar Summit. The other thing I'm going to do is a seminar on YouTube and social media. Maybe I live stream that too out to you guys. Just that'll be on the Saturday, the day before. So I don't see why not. As long as they're okay with it, I would probably just go live like this and do a live stream, and maybe that can be even some Q&A and stuff like that. But I wanted to do it on my sort of strategy or philosophies or thoughts on how to develop not only successful YouTube thing, but also Instagram. If you do TikTok, I don't actually do TikTok yet. I just keep holding off. But Instagram, and because basically it's like, hey, like it or not, even if you're older and you don't feel like, oh, I don't want to get into all that, it's not what I do, I just want to play guitar. It's like, it's kind of your calling card these days. Be it YouTube or Instagram. At least people are going to go there and they go, what's their IG? They're going to go and check you out and go, oh yeah, that guy sounds pretty cool, like playing at a gig or whatever video you put up. It's kind of the first foot in the door. It's your business card these days almost. So how to develop that and how to kind of curate it a little bit and have it be so that, because it's your, you want to put your best foot forward or whatever these days, unless you're just not going to do social media. That I respect too. But so anyway, that'll be on Saturday. So Saturday will be the YouTube. I'm pretty sure about this. It's not set in stone, but it's pretty set in stone, 90%. That Saturday will be the YouTube social media seminar. Sunday will be the Sunday live, more focused on just a free-for-all, exactly what we do here, but with a live audience. And then I'm also doing a masterclass there, which is going to be a 2-hour thing with a limited group of people. You have to sign up for it. There's a fee to sign up for it and stuff like that and get in. So it's folks just there. I won't be live streaming that or anything. But for people going to Guitar Summit, if you know anybody that's going, or if you're going, it's going to be on songwriting creativity. So I want to sit down with people literally like one-on-one and show them how I would like we're going to do it on the fly. Like I want to develop some ideas and like rut busters, how to break through to get, your creative ideas, juices flowing, that kind of thing, get songs written, and even improv and listening to that kind of inner voice in your head, where to go next, and not so much pattern based or scale based or that kind of thing. So a little bit of a songwriting and creativity seminar I talked about that a little bit. If anybody out there has seen one of my clinics before, on how to, how to tap into that, and because people ask me, how do you write all these tracks that you do for your videos and stuff? And I don't find it difficult. So I'm going to try and articulate how I do it and pass some of that on for anybody that's interested in songwriting and at least how I do things. So that'll be on the Saturday as well at Guitar Summit. Saturday is going to be a busy day because I'm also doing a jam. I'm going to play with Thomas Blug there, and not sure who else is involved in the jam, but it should be really fun. It's a bunch of fun tunes and stuff like that. And then there might be more. I may have guests or guests sit in on a couple of these things with me if I can wangle that. Because wangle, if I can wangle, that's not a word. Wrangle. I like wangle. Okay, there's another super chat there from Modern Vintage. Accent sound quality and performance is truly superb. That's the wireless that I've been using for sure. Did Sure mention it remaining the same for a while, just software updates? It's pretty sophisticated. I can't imagine it changing other than, yeah, maybe software, or it could be, the thing that, I mean, the wireless, the audio quality is good. It's great. It sounds awesome. I don't see that really changing much. I mean, it's already like super high-end converters and sounds awesome. The thing that changes in wireless is the frequencies and government restrictions and stuff like that, where they place, certain restrictions on certain regions and stuff, so that you kind of have to play by the rules of the governments, wherever you are, and as frequency wise. So that's what changes, I think. So when you see things changing with wireless, things getting discontinued and new things brought out, that's why. I find it pretty interesting, but that it's just ever shifting. It must be very difficult to design wirelesses, but that's why the Accent's pricey, because it's like they've got the technology in there that basically will work all over the world. You're going to be able to take it and use it anywhere, and that's pretty fantastic. So for the top touring artists, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'm not putting myself in that category, but it's like it's like I just needed to I travel. I mean, even though I'm going to do, essentially, I'm going to do a classic rock show. We're playing covers and stuff. Like, I'm not actually taking the Accent, so I'm contradicting myself. I can't it's to bring it in my suitcase. It's not going to happen. So I'm using a cable on this gig. But let's say when I go over to classic rock show in January, February, March next year and stuff, that'll be my wireless. So go to the UK, back in the US, who knows where else I go. I need, I don't want to have, you can buy 3 wirelesses for all over the world, I guess, or you could buy one that just works everywhere. So, yeah, but it's a killer unit. Wow, there's a great big super chat there. I'm going to grab that one. Thanks, man. Like the quick pop in on Tone Talk. Yeah, I popped into Dave's shop and I saw Andy Timmons on the TV and Robert Keeley, and that was really cool. Safe travels and have a drink on me. So for anybody that hasn't watched it, how good did that really inspired me, actually. I'm like, okay, I got to get this live streaming amazing stereo sound thing going. If I can't figure it out, I'm going to pick Andy's brain, but I don't think it's that hard, but I would love to have a tone like that. I mean, he's just using the Lone Star, and then with pedals, and he's got his halo and everything's in stereo, and it sounds amazing. So I need to figure out how he's doing it. He must be using 2 halos. Or 2 Lone Stars. Sorry, 2 Lone Stars, because it was stereo and sounded incredible, didn't it? It sounded really good. He's such a great guy too. I just love what a great guy he is. He's like the nicest guy on earth. He's so cool. So it's kind of no secret his longevity. It's obvious. He's a great player. He's obviously worked really hard. He's been in this since the 80s, with Danger, and then doing all his solo career playing as a sideman with folks like Olivia Newton-John, which he detailed on the show. And it can be done. You can have a 30+ year career in this business and do really well if you kind of work hard and, you're a nice guy and a team player. And Andy's like no better example than that, is there? So, and Robert's a great dude too. He's a really forward-thinking designer, and I like how he, like, how do you make a delay pedal that's kind of unique and awesome that gets somebody like Friedman excited? Dave's seen it all. He doesn't really get that excited about guitar gear anymore, and he's like, "This is the greatest pedal!" Like, he loves the delay. So, yeah. Anyways, good on you guys, Andy Timmons and Robert. Okay, thank you so much as well there, Bill, for the super chat. I really appreciate that. You guys are too kind. It's going to keep me in. I'm going to be able to buy some more Nespresso capsules. Okay, I missed your super chat, says Robert, all the way at the top. Sorry, I guess I did. I thought I got them all, but had it on the screen, but never said anything. Is that right? Okay, let's take a look. Let's see if I can go all the way back and find that super chat. Did I call it up? And that's quite possible. I'm still waking up, guys, so cut me a little slack. There it is. Morning. Looking for a speaker for my 2EL84 18-watt Marshall amp. I love mids. No pedals. Plug in and play. 1.5 to 2K. You want a V30? That's what I think. That's you're describing a V30. With that poke in the upper mids. That's what they do. Greenback's going to be more relaxed and woody sounding in the upper mid. Still a great mid-range speaker. Creamback, if you want a more mid-rangey greenback, that would be the Creamback 65. It's got this kind of mid-rangey voice, but it's a little lower mids to me than that. I think you're basically describing a vintage 30. It might not be the most, you might be like, oh, really? You can't come up with anything better than that? Because V30 is such a typical reply. But right, guys, that's kind of what they do. That kind of, and, then mic it with a 57 and you basically got, Slash or something, that tone, Marshall with mids. So, yep. Okay, what else have we got here? I'm just way back in the chat now, so I'll take a couple of these early questions. Ray, got my 1980s Ibanez Pro Effects pedalboard. I love those. Is that the one with the screamer and the chorus and analog delay and everything on one? Those are cool. Still sounds amazing. Yeah, they're really cool. Do you have a setup that is your go-to setup that just works even if it's old? My pedalboard's pretty old at this point. I think it's 2018 that I redid it. So I can plug that in and use it, and I know how to use it. Sorry, I got the hiccups really bad or some kind of gastric, I don't know what. Other than that, really old that works well. I mean, over the years I tend to tear them up though. I had this little pedal board that I used a lot for years that had like 5 or 6 pedals on it. Not really using that anymore. I just have my big one at work under the desk. And it's not even really, I don't even consider it big, but it's my main board, the one with the Mark V Musicom controller, 2 H9s, the timeline. It's probably ready for a little revamp. So I'll probably be changing a few things around on that board relatively soon, but I'm very comfortable using it. It's easy to use. Now, that said, my gigging for the last 3-4 months has been all quad Cortex, using it, with, going direct and all that. So I'm getting comfortable on that. It's not as much, it's my feeling about using the modelers is like, what a great tool. Like I love the quad Cortex. It's super fun. I still have more fun using a traditional pedal board to dial in things. Cause it's like pedals are just fun, like I've dialed up, for example, I kind of copied Andy's Halo delay after doing the demo for the Halo, and I did it within the quad and it sounds great, but there's something really satisfying about turning on a pedal and it does that. Do you guys feel that? Like, you know what I mean? Like I just love using traditional pedal boards and stuff like that still. So the quad has been, I can't, it's an amazing tool. But there's something about the process of like, it's great. It's, the drag and drop thing and moving things around but the dialing up the knobs. I mean, it's pretty tactile and cool, but I still love the old, I guess it's like mixing in a DAW. It's amazing. You can do all this amazing stuff. It's great. It sounds great. We all do it now because it's so, great, but there's something about a console, mixing on a console, grabbing an EQ and turning the knob, and it's just right there so fast. And, so it's a similar thing to that, I think, maybe. So, I use it all these days. I'm a little bit of a, like, I guess I don't want to say victim of circumstance, but there's no way to do some of those things that I'm doing with my big pedal board. And, I'd be spending money on, or the artist would, but overweight fees. Right now I'm flying to Europe, right? And it's like, okay, we've all been following the news. It's insane. Like the airlines and, overbooking flights and luggage getting lost and all that stuff. So I'm going to hope to hell that it goes well. I've got to check my guitar. I've got no way around that. But I'm going to carry everything else. And I'm gone for like a minute right now. It's just like, I'm packing right now. I'm like packing very efficiently and thinking about how to get everything in 2 small bags and, backpack and a small suitcase and then fly the guitar. So it's like, it's a challenge these days, gigging stuff, but we're making it work. We're figuring it out. We are. Modern Vintage there with another super chat. Do you ever try 6550 or KTs? That's funny because, just this week I mentioned I did a video for the Halcyon from Origin, and I used a friend's JCM 800 in the video because I thought Tube Screamer pushing an 800, vertical input 800. It was around, so I thought I'll borrow this amp and I'll show that sound in the video because it's kind of relevant. It's to most people. If there's an amp like that around, I should use it, right? Because it's like, people would be like, well, you've got these fancy amps, and oh, how about I just use a more run of the mill, available amp, typical amp. So, and it had 65s in it. Sound good. It's a different sound. It's kind of a bold, hard sound. 6550s. They have less mids to me, the way they overdrive. But cool. And I did try on the amp too, because I've had this realization as of late, that an 800 has this amazing sound when you sort of use it more like a plexi. Like, everybody out there probably knows that if they've had an 800, but maybe not. I don't know, because they have to be so loud at this point. Basically, the deal is an 800 has this certain sound with the preamp up around, anywhere from 5 to 10. And then you run the master, like anywhere from off all the way up to 5 to 6 to 7. Now you're like so loud, right? And maybe with the master on 6 or 7 and the preamp on 10, it's a little sloppy sounding or something, and also incredibly loud. Because to me, they're a little woolly and a little anemic at the same time, than 800. But this thing happens when you back. The preamp volume on an 800 has got a bright cap on it, right? If you back it down to like 7, 6, you're going to start to mix that cap in a little bit and get a little bit of that uppercut through. It's going to clean things up a bit. And when you take the master on one of those and you run it from 6 to 7, and then like, 7.5, 8, no louder than that, but right up around there, the amp, it transforms, and this high end comes in, and it's got this cutting, great, clear thing that sounds amazing. And the amp just, it does something to the circuit. Whatever it does, it's distorting the phase inverter at that point or something. Something happens with the frequency spectrum of the amp when you get that master up that loud. Now, it's, as I said, it's incredibly loud at that point. Basically got it cranked, if it's 100 watt or a 50, if it's a 2204. But it's really, really, really loud, but boy, does it sound good. And, when it's on a microphone with a cab in the other room, you can really hear it and not kill yourself. And this amp, had the 6550s in it. It sounded great, like running it like that. Just great, like really amazing. And that's basically Lay It Down. That's the DeMartini sound, Warren's thing, and, running that style amp with that, cranked like that and stuff. And they just have the sound when you run them like that. It's incredible. It's as cool almost, I think, as the plexi thing. It's just its own thing, but it's really similar. It's like basically you've almost got a plexi similar thing, but of course there's that kind of JCM 800 cold gain stage extra thing in there that's adding a little more gain, so it's like an 800 with a little more. Sorry, like a plexi with a little more at that point. And it really sounds good. Really, really good. It's a little different than the plexi, because you're not going to set the EQ all on 10 like you would, like for the Van Halen thing or something. It's different because there's gain stage in front and stuff. And yeah. Okay. Which active load box IR loader do I think is better? St. Rock, Red 7, or UAD Aux? I don't know the Red 7. St. Rock, very little exposure to, but seems like it's probably pretty cool. The UAD Aux, I have one. I've used it extensively. They've all got their advantages. I mean, the effects in the UAD, are kind of what sets it apart, I think, as well as the ability to use it as a variable attenuator. I don't use it as an attenuator, but you can. The reverb, the room mics in the UAD are really cool. It's a great one-stop shop, the UAD. You see a lot of people using it in videos and stuff. I mean, I think Rabia has used one quite a bit. I'm not sure if it's his thing now for videos, but also Brett Papa, I think. It's a great tool, so I know it really well. These other two, I just don't know that well, I would include the Sur reactive load in that because I think it sounds great and it's very, very, very simple. And it gets the job done for a lot of people just efficiently. And, it's a great box, the reactive load. if you're kind of plug and play and you don't want to screw around with tons of options, that one, the load box is exceptional in it as far as looking like, when you graph it, looking like a real speaker impedance curve. It's amazing. Probably the Saint Rock is the next closest in that regard, but I don't know the Red 7. So anyways, I really like a couple of the cabinets in the aux, the greenback, both in the punch and the fat one or thick, whatever they're called. Those are both good. And the Vox style cabinet is exceptional. Yeah. And the 410 is cool too in the aux. Now, with all that said, they do kind of lock you into their cabinet ecosystem. It's not like you can load IRs in it. So you can disable the IRs and then load them like in an IR loader in your computer if you want to record, but you just can't load them like you can on probably the St. Rock, I guess, and also on the reactive load and other ones. So, okay. What else have we got here, you guys? Let's see. Exotic AC with Marshall. I never really bonded with that pedal. I have one. I had one years ago when they first came out, and I always found it to be kind of screamery and just kind of MIDI, and it wasn't my thing. I preferred the white one, the kind of less colored booster, but it had a bass and treble knob on it. I like that pedal because it had less of that mid. It just sounded kind of the AC had kind of a soft mids thing to it, and I'm a more like aggressive rock tone guy, and it just wasn't my thing. But to each his own, What else? Let's see. Rhett's here. What's up, dude? How are you? What's happening? How's your studio going? Todd says, "Hey, from rainy Nova Scotia. Boy, we could use a little bit of that rain out here. I wish we had some." Do you have a B bender? Lauren's asking. Rhett, I don't have one. I've screwed around with one a little bit, but what about you, Rhett? You got one? I've never really explored. Have you ever played Beat It for a gig? No, never done that. Never learned the solo. Great riffs, but that's one I've never done, actually. It's interesting. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here? Master volume on 4 and preamp on 7. That's the sweet spot. See, I'm not crazy about that sound. It's cool, but reverse the 2 knobs. It'll get me really loud, but that's more my speed. Actually, a little like master volume on like 7 or 7.5 with the preamp on 6 to me is just, it's amazing sounding. Actually, it's really great. The whole character of the amp changes. It's like whoa, 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 ah. Whoa, 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 whoa. The woofy thing that they do, and the kind of darker. It's like a darker kind of a little bit woolly, a little bit anemic on the gain. And then when you drive that phase inverter, I think is what it is. It just the high end jumps out. It sounds like really great. It's super cool. Best tips of wisdom you've learned from Dave and John. Well, that's some right there. Without because of my proximity to Dave and also with John, I get to try a lot of things and experiment a lot. And, like that was a revelation. And even Dave said to me the other day that it was kind of a revelation for him too, that when you run them like that, because it's not you wouldn't think on an 800, like that seems really high on the master, but there it is. It just sounds great. It's like, and it's like I said, ungodly loud at that point. So it's not something you're going to, unless you were experimenting back in the day, when it was like, okay, we all play loud. Everybody's using Marshalls, loud Marshalls, in that era of rock, whatever, Jakey Lee and George Lynch and, Warren DeMartini and stuff, taking the amp of the day, an 800, and turning the knobs however, and so it was a revelation to me. It's just interesting that it doesn't really get a hell of a lot louder is the thing beyond like 4, 5, 6. It's just really, really, really loud. But then at that point, when you get the master up to like 7 or 7.5. It just, the tone changes. It's cool. If anybody's got the ability to try it, give it a go. Like, put all the EQ on 5 or something, start there, and then put the preamp on like 6 or 6.5, and then bring up the master. It's going to kill you with volume, but maybe if you got a load box or attenuator, you can try it. And as you bring it up and you get up to 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, it's like right in there. There's this magic little range on the master that rules. What else you guys talking about? The Randy Rhodes movie. I haven't seen that yet. I know it came out like the same day I put out my video for that RR3 guitar that is still for sale. Yeah. Hi from Istanbul. Wow, it's been a minute since I've been over there. What's going on in Istanbul? Have you tried Hotone Ampero? I haven't. I think I know what you're talking about. Those amps showed up at GitCon years ago. They had is it one of the little guys that's like, little head that, and they seemed like they were pretty cool. I think I played through one of them on like one of the live stream things, or one of the videos I recorded there at that event. Have you ever tried the Marshall JVM Satriani? A little bit, like just to kind of plug in a I don't remember where, but I know I did. And the JVM, the 4-channel, how do you find it different? I wonder. Let's see. Naive Steve said it's not the airlines that is a problem. It's now the energy crisis. So I know that's looming. Yeah, it's going to be a big deal come this winter for you guys over there, if you're over there. Also, I mean, I'm supposed to go to the UK in January, February. What's that going to be like? We'll see. Wow, what a world. So, what else we got here? Thanks for answering my questions, says Charles. You bet. Absolutely. Thank you, man. Any news on new album, says Ryan. Like new album from me? Well, I'll tell you this. I'm in a situation where I have a unique thing. I have some time off towards the end of the year. And I also am going to have some time off while I'm in Europe. And so I'm sort of thinking like, I built myself. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened, but it's my a thing of my doing that I've kind of ended up over there longer than I need to be, it's going to be expensive because I got to just kind of hole up and stay over there. But I'm like, okay, let's use the time then. It's going to be about a week where I could basically be coming back here, but I can't. It's got a lot to do with the airlines and stuff, and flights, and they might solve it, the powers that be, but I don't think so. So it's like, okay, let's have a little work vacation then and spend a little bit of time every day, maybe doing some writing, and do it in a nice, beautiful place, and hang out. And so that's going to be kind of my goal, I think, is maybe to finish up a few things that I still have to finish up that I got to edit for YouTube and stuff, but also maybe to sit there and write some songs. I'll have the quad Cortex with me, my laptop, a guitar. That's kind of all I need, so, and if I can get a little bit of writing done, or at least maybe spend some time listening back to some old demos, like I did when I made my last record, curate a little bit and come up with like 8, 9 tunes, maybe, and then do a 10th mellow acoustic thing or something like I did on Pete Thorn too. I would have a record. And my goal is to kind of maybe do it like, in, some of this downtime I have, like if I have 3-4 days in December or in late November, what if I could get something recorded then, drums and bass and at least some of the guitars, like over a few day period, do it quick, like Joe Bonamassa. That guy, he's inspired me because he goes in and does it'd be like Monday, starting recording of the new record today. And like Thursday, he'll put up a post on Instagram or whatever, and it'll be like, done. Like, what? But he's in the blues genre. So they go in and they track live and they play like men and they get the work done quick, not boys. They play like men. Whatever. And he tracks like that, he gets it done. And I think that that's maybe what I should be doing, is just getting something done, like nose to the grindstone, get some songs written, keep them maybe more streamlined. Like there's some songs on my records, like on the last record, Dirty Town, on my first record, Perplexed. They were like very simple. You can kind of do them with one guitar and a couple overdubs. It's largely a live take and stuff. Maybe I stick to that kind of thing and keep it simple and keep it, kind of, try and, like the Van Halen kind of spirit of recording, not a lot of overdubs and not a lot of, just very minimal, and keep the songs streamlined. And then I wouldn't labor over it so much, and try and get something done. So anyway, that's my plan heading into the fall as far as trying to get some music done. We'll see if I can follow through. There is no try, there is only do. What else we got here? Let's see. Okay. What are your thoughts on the Bogner Ecstasy 100-watt 20th anniversary? Have you ever played through one? I like the blue channel on it, Ecstasy. I played through one, yes, a little bit. The Ecstasy sound to me isn't exactly my thing. If I would play a Bogner, it would probably be the Helios, which makes sense, right? It's a little more of straight up Marshall kind of thing. I'm not really a big fan of there's to me, they sound like there's a lot of, I don't know if it's damping or negative feedback or what it is, but there's a sound to them, to me, just in particular with the Ecstasy, where it sounds like kind of like it's, one person described it to me once as being like it's already been recorded and it's coming out of the guitar speaker cabinet, very pristine, kind of like a recorded sound, like very refined. And to me, that sounds like damping and negative feedback, and a lot of like the amp's really chilled out and it's got a very controlled sound coming out of the cabinet. And there's a fair amount of low, mid, and lows happening, and less of the kind of the Marshall thing, So that's why I say the Helios is a little more my thing, I think. But not that it's not a good amp or that you can't get a great sound out of it, or that I couldn't and be happy with it. That's what I find, generally speaking, with the Ecstasies. Just, different strokes for different folks, I think. It was really very apparent to me when I made a record once, and there was one there, an Ecstasy, and there was also a 67 Plexi, great 67 Plexi, and how wild the Plexi was, right? Like how crazy, and it was like riding a wild horse playing that amp, as opposed to the other one was way, even when you get the volume up, it's way more refined and not kind of as crazy sounding, And I find that an interesting thing about a lot of vintage amps. When we think about Hendrix and we think about non-master volume amps in general, Eddie Van Halen, Brian May, and the way they sang and the way each guy's tone was so individual and stuff, and the amps were kind of raw sounding, kind of wild, captured by microphones, and then distilled down to an album, be it an LP or CD or however you listen, and then we're listening to it, and it sounds all, then it's controlled and everything, but it's so wild, like Hendrix feedback, or, it's, imagine what it sounded like coming out of the cabinets, kind of crazy, right? And like, that's, to me, I learned when I made that record, it's like, oh, there's sort of no free lunch. Like if you want to get that effect, the unpredictability of the amp kind of taking off and then leading your playing where it's going to go, and the high end being really cutting and really, and then like somebody said earlier, it's like they played their Marshall recently, and that kind of shrill high end, when you sit by yourself, it's maybe not so pleasant, but in a band context, it really works. That's the same concept I'm talking about, where it's like there's sort of no free lunch, and it's a bit of a it's a catch-22 or whatever for us guitar players, because you got to deal with this wild sound, and it's so loud you're going to get hearing loss and stuff like that. But that's how you get to the good stuff many times. So how do you use a lower wattage version of the same amp, maybe? Or that's pretty cool. I mean, like the new little Marshall 20 is actually a really good sounding Plexi, I think, and it sounds really cool. It gets there. It sounds really good. The whatever Studio Vintage 20, whatever they call them, definitely cool. But Reverend G says, love you shows. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here. Any thoughts with or experience with Divided by 13? So yeah, I mean, I started using Divided by 13 around 2003. I probably got one, or 4, 3, 4, something like that. And my first one was an FTR 37, and I was playing with a guy named Draco Rosa, and I used that amp. And interestingly enough, guy that played a lot on the records. I worked on Draco's Mad Love album then too, a little bit, but most of the guitar was Rusty Anderson, Paul McCartney fame now, right? Rusty had been in numerous projects with Draco and played a bunch on his records and stuff. And Rusty was a big user of Divided by 13, still is to this day. So it was a very, very hot amp right then, especially everybody was getting them. And, everybody in LA seemed to have, Lyle Workman and Rusty Anderson, Brian Ray, and even lots of users like Billy Gibbons and people he had on his site. And Fred, you got a lot of people using the amp. So the FTR was my main amp with Draco, I would say. I used other things sometimes, but that was the main thing I used, was that through a 212 cabinet, and ran some pedals in the front. And the FTR sort of, to me, is like a big deluxe reverb. It's like a double power deluxe reverb with a more versatile tone because it had the pull mid on the volume knob. I don't know how close the circuit is to a deluxe, but to me it sounded like a good deluxe. And then when you turn it up to like 5 or 6, it sounds really cool. And then you can hit it with pedals, and it's like a great gig amp, But like, it's not a metal amp, but it's a great for anything from country to pop to rock to that kind of thing with some pedals in front. But kind of underpowered at 22 watts or whatever a deluxe would be, right? Well, the FTR is like a double power deluxe to me. So it had, your mid 30 watt kind of thing, enough power to be lots, just the right. To me, 30 watts is a great, place to sit if you're not playing metal, if you're playing rock, or you're playing, to kind of singer-songwriter stuff. 30 watt amp with a 212 has just enough headroom where you can turn it up, get it right to the edge of breakup, and it's a great volume. For hitting with pedals or hitting with, a Les Paul or a Strat will have a different color with an amp of that power and that tone. So it really worked well, that amp, the FTR. Then I got an RSA 31, and I used that on a Jewel tour in 2006, along with, I also had a Lyle Workman, the LDW 37 or something it was called, which was basically kind of the 2204, I think, kind of Marshally. And I would A/B those. And then I started using 2 divided by. So I used the RSA 31. I think I was kind of switching too between the FTR 37 and the RSA 31. I got a new amp, so I wanted to use it. So I went to the 31. It was Voxy, and Vox, I really love Vox for like cleaned edge of breakup. So maybe even more than Fender sounds in some ways, especially for some things. So A being 30, the 31, and the LDW 37. I think that was the name of the amp. And it was kind of, so Marshall Vox kind of A being. And then when I started with Chris Cornell, I started to use, by then I'd gotten into Comet amps. So that I'd replaced the LDW with the Comet Concord. And I started using a Concord and either the FTR 37 or the 31 for my clean, A being the 2. And then I added in a third amp and got crazy and stuff. And eventually I ended up with the PT100. So that was my amp journey. But there was a lot of divided by going on there. 3 different divided bys, actually, for a little while. From your recent rig rundown, no IR from the QC to your Sir Cabs, right? That's correct. Yeah, the outputs of the QC were just feeding a power amp with no IRs. And then the XLR outs had the IRs. So two XLRs, output 1 and 2 with the IRs going to the PA. Outputs 3 and 4, no IRs going to the power amp and cabs. I feel like I got allergies or something. I'm like, which is probably what's happening. The dreaded Santa Ana's or something. Has anyone seen the Gibson Slash collection video? I haven't seen that yet, Modern Vintage, but it's supposed to be really good. I've had a couple of people send it to me. I need to look at it. Yeah. I don't get into politics on this, but I have to answer this. 2 years ago, there wasn't an energy crisis. Well, 2 years ago, there wasn't a unjust invasion of a sovereign country that's been a sovereign country for 30 years. There, I just got into politics with a maniacal, autocratic dictator that thinks he can go kill women and children. Sorry, that's where I'm at on that. Classic Rock Show have done Beat It a few years ago. Did they? I never saw that. I haven't seen that particular performance, but I don't really consider Beat It to be classic rock. I know it would be Michael Jackson's foray into that style, like that. I'm going to get Eddie Van Halen to play on a track, and it's going to have a rock riff, but it still had Michael's thing, which was, it was super funky, and it was like that distinctly, he's totally unique, man. Michael Jackson. I mean, it's like, for all the, forget about all the drama surrounding him or whatever. The music, he had a unique sound and style that just always permeated, at least for, all the way through the 80s, I guess, into the 90s, and when he was doing his, the kind of huge, massive classic albums that he came out with. It just was, nobody sounded like him. I mean, it's a little like Prince. I guess he had that thing too, or a little like Van Halen for that matter. He sounded like, when it comes on the radio, it's them. It just has a sound. I don't know. It's a special thing when somebody has such a distinct identity, So, you should become an impressionist. I don't think I'm that good at it, but you can do. When did I do Gene Simmons? I can kind of do Gene Simmons, I guess, but I'm not going to do it right now. I just don't remember ever doing that on a Sunday Live, but maybe I did. Here's a interesting. I'm considering buying a Sir Standard or Classic Guest. Could you talk about the different neck profiles? Sure. To me, the Even C Slim was the most kind of comfortable for a long, long time. The 60C Standard is, I believe, what I have on my blue guitar. It's a blue, classic Lake Placid, and I love that. I happen to have one here. This guitar is my old green one. I've been keeping it home. This guitar has this is the guitar actually that we copied the neck on for my new signature. So the interesting thing about this neck is that it's got a little more heft to it than the Even C Slim, like my old model. It's ever so slightly thicker, but it's also got a very, very, very soft V in the back. So a little bit of a V right here, and that kind of just becomes a C from about here on up. From about the 5th fret on up, it just feels like a C, but a little bit of V going on down here. And it's also a slightly wider nut than, it's not a 1 5/8. It's whatever the next one is, 6.87 or something like that. So something like that. So this neck just felt awesome to me. And this is now my signature neck profile. And what happened with this neck is John said, I think I shaped this myself. Like this guitar is rather old, probably made in 2007 or something. And John said, I used to go back in the shop back then on weekends and stuff, and I would pick up necks and just kind of hand shape them and hand finish them. And he goes, this is one of those. I can tell. I did it. And so we digitized it, and it's a great neck. So that's the neck on my. I don't think you can order that, though. That would be the only thing. So you're asking about. I really like I would suggest the Even C Slim, or if you're feeling like it's going to be too slim, I would go 60C Standard, but with the slightly wider nut, 1.687, because that makes a big difference and it feels great. It's just like really cool. So those are a couple of my favorites. So Even C Slim, 60C Standard, and now my new, signature profile. Yeah. When we get into the medium necks, they're a little too big with too much shoulder for me personally. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here? You've inspired me to buy one of your Sir Signature Standard in red. Will be here in a couple months. Amazing. Is it a so is it the 2 humbucker version, which I still love? My red one is my favorite out of all the ones, at least currently. For the double humbucker models, that's my favorite. And actually, the red one, I have the red one here ready to go with me. That's what I'm taking to Europe, and that's the hum single version, the new version. And so for whatever reason, both the red ones turned out to be my favorites, and I love them. Super cool guitars. Thank you for getting the guitar. I hope it is all you had hoped and dreamed of, and that is a great tool for you for years. Which is a better pedal platform, British or American style? If you want to get a lot of versatility in a lot of different tones, I would have to say probably an American clean. When I do a pedal demo, generally speaking, you're hearing me run it through channel 1 on my PT100 or sometimes channel 1 on the 15, but mainly I use the 100 because it's just blackface Fender. That's the closest thing to it, and with the bright switch in or out and those simple 3 tone controls, bass, middle, treble, you can get a world of color out of the pedals. And it's just a great sort of nice neutral platform for pedals. British amps, Voxes, very picky with pedals, I find, can be. Not time-based stuff. You can run those it'll work great. But any kind of drives and stuff into the front end, even compressors, they're a little more picky with settings, and it's a little more of a colored preamp to me, a Voxy preamp, a top boost or a brilliant Vox preamp is a little more of a colored sound. Whereas a Fender circuit with its scoop mids and the way that it's like, if you've got take even my little Silverface new, Princeton reverb, it's a, whatever, no bright cap kind of circuit. It's just a very sort of even flat sound that, that'll take pedals really well. Normal channel on a Vox, there's no tone shaping going on. It's like, that's the Brian May thing. You got to run the treble booster into that. You can't run pedals into it. So if you're running into a Vox and you're running pedals for tones, you're probably, unless you're doing Brian May, you're probably running into a non-top boost, channel, which has a bright cap on it by default. Generally, it's the brilliant channel with all the lows cut out of it. It's just a more dramatic it's a more filtered, dramatic kind of preamp. So when you run things into it, any kind of gain box, it tends to blow up the characteristics of the gain box, and you're going to be like, oh, it's dark, it's too bright, or it's too dark, or oh, it's this, it's that. So you need a pedal that's really versatile or just tuned to that kind of thing. I find more, if you've got a Fender with a bright switch on it, any of the 60 circuit that has the bright switch, you've got a super reverb. You're going to be able to get tones out of it with pedals, depending on what you can, like, oh, I got to turn the bright off, but now I can make this drive work and it sounds really good. Or turn it on. Oh, now this drive. So it's a great pedal platform. Could I be more long-winded? Would it be possible to be? Probably not, because I'm so far back here. Simto says, had my FTR 37 since 2008. Love it so much. Wanted the RSA 23 for many years. That's Rusty's 23 watt. Yeah. Let's see. Super chat there. I should grab that. Let's see. Phone's going off here. Okay. Let's see. Is the quad Cortex viable for home use and recording without captures and just using models? Yeah, totally. The models sound great. As good as any, I find like Helix or Axe Effects or things like that. The models they put in are really good. Some of my favorites are the AC30 sounds really good. The kind of deluxe Fender sounds really good. The Friedman BE is great for high gain Marshall stuff, and the the cab I really like in there as a default is just the greenback. It's the 90s greenback 412. Love that. Sounds really good. So that's, if you want to go to kind of Marshall sound, the 90s greenback thing is cool. There's a super chat, but no question. Hey, thanks, man. Rec R, I appreciate that. Thank you. Do you remember what you used on Arms Around Your Love? When I used to play live, I would use a Les Paul, and I mean, I remember using mainly the probably Voxy RSA 31 kind of sound, on that kind of just jangly, it's like that light rock kind of drive. My memory of that song is that we played that song at the old, I think it was the Astoria, is that the name of it? But it's not there anymore, in London, Astoria Ballroom, and that's the night Jimmy Page came out to the gig. And Arms Around Your Love, I don't know if this is in tune. The solo on Arms Around Your Love is, which is right, it's Stairway to Heaven. The chords. So we started playing this, the solo. Yogi used to take the solo on the song. We started playing it, and Yogi busted into the Stairway to Heaven solo, and I hadn't even thought of it. Like, I just never made the connection. Oh, it's Stairway to Heaven chords and about the same tempo. And Yogi just ripped the Stairway to Heaven solo over, and you could see Jimmy in the back sitting there with his gray hair all night, in the stands. It was so cool. I started cracking up. It was like, man, there's one thing about Yogi. He had a great sense of humor, and he was fearless. He would just do things, and I'm sure Jimmy appreciated it. It was a nice tip of the hat, nice nod, so. I think I did it then. I stole Yogi's idea. The last gig I ever did with Chris was at the Roxy in 2016 in LA. And we did Arms Around Your Love, and I played the solo. I played Stairway solo, I remember. I'm going to do that tonight. And he laughed. He loves stuff like that. So, but anyway, any thoughts on what gives a particular guitar mojo? The right wood with the right wound pickups to set up? I mean, to me, it's got to be an all encompassing thing, tone as well as feel, so that you want to play the guitar, and then it brings things out of you. So that's the thing. It'd be setup, playability, resonance, and an inspiring tone. Everything, it's got to all be there. So, yeah. You're taking Wizards with KT88s. KT88s are big, bold, big low end. It's a different sound. It's, past 6550s even, I think. It's gonna, I don't know about, but any particular Wizard with some circuit, it could be a different. To me, the circuit of the amp is going to have probably more impact than the output tube type, but the output tube type definitely has an impact. So the preamp is where the tone really gets shaped, and then the tube type in the power amp and stuff is a factor in the tone, but not as big as all the stuff that's going on in the preamp. It's, power amps are definitely not flat on guitar amplifiers, but the real, all the tone shaping is mainly happening in the preamp, and then you're just kind of amplifying that. So if you took a JCM 800 with EL34s, or a JCM 800 that had been set up with KT88s, which you can do, or 6550s, with the same settings in the preamp, you're going to notice, yes, a difference, but it's not going to be like this, oh my God, it's night and day, with the different power amps. It's going to be like, oh yeah, this one's got a little more bolder low end. Oh yeah, this one's more mid forward, and seems a little louder because the tubes. I mean, 6550s kind of just like make more power and stuff, I think. So, thoughts on latest black and white striped EVH? I don't know. I don't even know if they're out there yet. Has anybody even got one of those yet? Be interesting to see if they're out in the wild yet. I'd love to get one of those, actually. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, let's move down a little bit. Check out my previous non-super chat message to you, JH Ambient. Looks like the next level Oh, that's interesting. Maybe they'll hook you up with a set. I don't think JH hooks anybody up. I think they're quite expensive and people pay for them. But I would like to try them for sure if they're, if they're out there. Um, uh, that's interesting. I'm so sort of in the, sensophonics world right now anyway. Sorry. Is that modern vintage what you were saying in your super chat message? If you guys say like, "Hey man, you missed my super chat," that's cool. Of course, I feel bad if I miss your super chat. I never want to. I always want to catch them all. But just tell me in the post, like when you say, "Hey man, I think you missed my super chat. This was my question," and then just say it or whatever. And I assume that you did that there, modern vintage. I think you did, because then I don't have to. It's the way this looks on. It's just like a long stream of all your messages, and to scroll back takes it's like scrolling back through a text thread or something. It's easier to just ask it again. And once again, I apologize. It's my fault if I missed them. I'm trying to get them all. Did you have tuning problems with your old Sir model because of the mahogany neck? No, never had tuning problems. I will say the neck on the original, on the standard, does move a little more than the new roasted maple as opposed to mahogany. I find that on Les Pauls too. Mahogany seems to be a wood that just moves a little more. And if it's not roasted, it's, that's how it is. But no, I never had any tuning problems with them. I would generally just, I'm really picky about truss rod though. So it's like every day I'll be kind of checking it to see where it is if I've moved from one city to another on tour. So, I find the red one that I've got now that is so stable. Like I've probably adjusted the truss rod twice or three times since I've gotten it, months and months ago, and moving across different humidities and climates and everything. What do you think of Duesenberg guitars? My exposure to those was with Cornell on tour and Yogi. They played them, and I almost got one once. I kind of wanted the Mike Campbell one, the blue one, but I never ended up getting one. But they were cool, neat, like kind of that cross between, like a modern Gretsch vibe or something with the different style pickups that they had and stuff, and the tremolos that they use, and they're real cool looking. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Ben says 377 watching, only 99 likes. Hit that like button if you like the show. If you don't mind. It helps the algorithm. Here's somebody looking at buying a Sur SL67 or 68. Hard to decide between the two. Closest for Van Halen tone is going to be the 100 Variac down, or in the low power mode. But the 67 sounds great too. It's just going to be a little hairier and a little less headroom. They both sound great. You can watch the video I did for them, probably garner a fair amount from that. But also, if you've ever played a 50-watt Marshall versus 100, 50 is a great sound and it'll totally do the Van Halen thing. It's just not quite as big and bold as 100. That's, the funny thing is a 50 at 90 volts. Sorry, let's start with the 100. The 100 at 90 volts is probably 60 watts or something, So you're already bringing it down in power. So then a 50 at 90 volts is now you're making like 25 watts or 30 watts or something because of the lower voltage and you'll notice a substantial difference in volume. Maybe not enough for your bandmates, but it will drop a few dB, down in the lower voltage mode, a couple dB, just like if you had a lower power amp, because it is a lower power amp at that point. Yeah. Let's see. More likes helps Pete grow the channel. Thanks, Ben. I hope he hits 250K. Yeah, it's been a struggle to get there. It's like the YouTube world is busy now. And to be fair, and I feel bad about this, I feel like I've let YouTube slide a little bit recently because of touring and because of not being in my studio. And it's just like I feel bad about it in many ways. And so now that I'm going to, like I say, going to Guitar Summit and stuff, I feel like I can do Sunday live there, and that'll be cool. And also maybe the YouTube social media kind of seminar thing, if I can stream that as well. That's some unique videos that I hopefully will, garner some interest and views and all that good stuff. And I'll also probably do a little, like, if I have time, run around of Guitar Summit and do a little, it's a great trade show in Mannheim. It's really nice little show. It's not too big. And it has a nice feel to it. So if I can film a little bit there, get a video out of that, that'll be good. Some good YouTube comment upcoming, as well as my Halcyon video from Origin. That's coming. I've still got a couple videos to put out from GearFest. I just haven't had time to edit. So I've got one on Eventide on the, I believe it's the H9000 that the nice fellow there was showing me at Eventide, that he had a whole bunch of sounds dialed up, and it's like the holdout rack processor that's like unbelievable actually, and it's so deep. And so he gave us a run through with audio of the H9000, and I've got it in a nice kind of, it's like a demo video with him playing and demonstrating and stuff. So I can get that out, and as well as the Atreides from George Trips and MXR. I shot some video there of that, and it's very kind of fly on the wall, them playing this crazy sounding, some great sounding pedal. It's kind of micro synth sounding, so I need to get that out. So some stuff coming, but there's only so much stuff you can do, right? And maybe I can do a little Paris. I'm gonna be in Paris. I can do a little Paris guitar shop video. Would you guys want to see that? Like the kind of, because there's one street in Paris that has all these great guitar shops on it. It's really cool. Great pedal store, I remember, and then a couple vintage shops where they're very kind of a little bit standoffish when you go in there, as my memory, but maybe they'll be nice to me. Or maybe not. Turn that off. Don't film in here. Sacre bleu. No. I don't even know what that means. Gotta dust off my French. Un verre de vin blanc, s'il vous plaît. Toi dewa doka desu ka? Oh, that won't get me anywhere. That's only in Japan. Let's see. What else we got here? Dory likes the way I did my hair today. Thanks, Dory. It's I'm just growing it a little bit. Quit doing the sides super short, I'm gonna see where it ends up in a month. Best combo amp speaker. There's a couple I like. I mean, a V30 is a no-brainer, but I actually really like the G12H Creamback 75 for combos and for 112s in general. So if it's a Celestian, I like those. Another one, if you want a really nice kind of boutique tone, is the Alnico Cream. It's a 100-watt Alnico speaker, and it's just got a really luxurious sound to it, to me, that I really like. Yeah. How are we doing for time? It's 1:09. I can go about another 20 minutes, guys, and then I'm going to split and get out of here and get it all packed and head to who knows where. What else we got here? Let's see. 212 cab combo tips. Greenback and 70th anniversary, great combo. That's the classic kind of G12H30 and Greenback combo. Works well. Gold, yeah, gold is pretty good. I like a gold in a V30. I had a cabinet that had that once. It was a really good sound. Maybe better than, the blue is like, the thing with a 212 is you're painting yourself into a corner with a low output speaker, really. So I would go gold or a higher power speaker so that you can get at least 100 watts of power handling out of the cab. We used in the PT212 two G12H75 Creambacks, 150 watts of power handling, great sound, works with a lot of amps. But if you want something a little more, boutique, interesting, maybe, put an Alnico in there too, like either the gold or the Alnico Cream, I think is really great. If you want lightweight, I really like the Creamback. What's the what's the speaker I'm thinking of? The Neo Cream. That's it. Neo Creamback. Neo Creamback has a great greenbacky kind of sound, and it's like, you'll drop the weight by a third or something of your cabinet. Did you see the in-room interview that Rick did with Chris Novoselic, Kim Thale, and Jack? No, I did not. I'd really like to see that, but I haven't had any time. I've been so slammed in the last, just trying to get ready for this trip and, coming back from tour, and I'm really a little discombobulated, to tell you guys the truth. Like with my focus and stuff lately, it's been a little bonkers. So it's been a little crazy. And then I took 2 down days but they weren't really down days, but I had to run up to Northern California for a couple of days in order to take a cat somewhere, so the cat had somewhere to stay. Well, we're not in town. That was a nice little trip, but it was a whirlwind. It's just been traveling, man. That's what it's been. It's been flying, tours, one-offs, trip up north, home for a couple of days, now out again, packing constant. My suitcase has been lying on the floor for like weeks in here. When I come back, and I don't even unpack it, just kind of laundry, throw things in, because we're going 2 days again later. It's like, it's nuts, man. It's crazy. So I guess part of what it is like, it's not just one gig I have right now. I do YouTube. I do this tour with these people. I did another tour with Five for Fighting. Sometimes it's one-off, so you need to take different stuff for that. And then you're, okay, what do I need to bring on this thing? What do I need to bring on this thing? What do I need to bring on this thing? And then, like, how do I also have a mobile editing rig? And, it's like, maybe that's what it is, why I feel discombobulated, because it's like having 5 different jobs, that all require, some degree of travel or carrying things around. It's crazy. I'm not complaining. I'm just stating reality of what I'm doing right now. Let's see. Is there still a piece of gear that you're trying to track down? I know what you mean. Sometimes I prefer the hunt more than the capture. Yeah, I know what you mean. Once you got it, it's like, oh. Not really, man. There's not like some magic piece of gear I feel like I need in my life to complete it. I mean, I would love to have, an old SG or 54 Les Paul again, a gold top, wrap around, just because I let one go once, and that always bums me out. But there's not something I'm really looking for right now. I feel like I need to be honest, I'm in that place where I feel like I need to explore what I've got more, and expand on that, because I do have, I mentioned earlier that I used to have this little rack, a 6-space rack with a few pedals in it and a Replifex. It was very simple, and a DSL head. That was it. That was my rig, and a couple guitars. And I got a lot of mileage out of that stuff, because I rang every last bit of sound I could out of it, and I learned how to use it, really like efficiently. And that's part of the thing of the catch-22 of all this gear that we play with these days, is that, do you ever really get super deep into it? Because you're on to the next thing many times, It's just, once again, it's not a complaint. It's just reality, I think. Is your bridge pickup a tone zone type? I'm asking because I play 7 strings as 6, and I like that sound. Tone zone? The tone zone, as I understand it, was kind of like, isn't it? There's some lineage there with when they were working on pickups for the Axis for Eddie. So it's I don't really have a perspective. My pickups are really I think of it as a PAF type. They're anywhere from sort of normal strength to hot PAF, with the slightly mismatched coil kind of thing, and leaning on the warmer side with the magnets. So that's what I go for. Have you ever been electrocuted on stage? Was this comment? I mean, I wouldn't say electrocuted because I'm still here, but you mean shocked? Sure. Most definitely at different times. Okay, couple super chats I did miss here. Look at that. How am I missing these? Thanks for the AAY love info. Let us know if you get close to Green Bay. What's that? AAY. Arms Around Your Love. Got it. Right. The Cornell song. You bet. Absolutely. Let's see. There's another super chat. Have you heard anything new recently that you dig? I'll tell you what I got. That's not, you guitar players are going to be disappointed, but it's a Microtubes, the black bass preamp pedal that Dark Glass makes. It's smoking. It's so good. It's the size of like a Cocoa Boost, and I recorded the bass part on a picture of it I took because I was going to put it up on social media. I didn't yet. Where is it? Let me find it. This thing. That pedal from Dark Glass is killer sounding. It's got an XLR out on it, and you kind of got your clean bass sound DI, and then you blend in the distorted top end on the other side. Sounds great. Really, really great. I like the Dark Glass stuff a lot. And this is a pedal that I came to actually through trying the plugin, which was the neural version. So, which made me want to try the hardware. So I guess that's a thing. They make this neural mix this in a plugin, and the plugin's killer too. So I just wanted to have the pedal version. I love it. It sounds really, really good. So Midnight Hour says, don't feel bad about YouTube. You're a working musician. That's what counts. Thanks. I really appreciate that. And thanks for, if you just worry, like, because YouTube and social media is a thing that you constantly have to feed. You feel like, you guys know, I'm sure, like, if you don't, then you're like, oh, I'm not keeping up, or I'm not, and it's getting your head around the fact that, like, hey, like, before this stuff ever existed, I was a professional musician. And that's the main thing, like playing. And I feel like that is why you guys are here listening to me at all, right? Because it's like, at least I suppose I have some real world stuff to offer or whatever, because I go out and play and stuff. So not that if you just do YouTube as your main thing, there's anything wrong with that. There's incredible people that do that. I mean, when I think of Paul Davids or something, it's a brilliant YouTube channel, and that's his main thing, doing that, not like going out and playing in bands or whatever. I don't think, even though he does that too, I think, but the YouTube is the driving. You can do it and that, but I think my little niche falls in the that I do go out and gig and stuff, and that's so I gotta sometimes remind myself of that. Steven says, don't feel bad, it's okay. Thank you, I appreciate that. I like the fact that you have a career completely outside of YouTube. Thanks. It's kind of funny when there was a thread recently on the gear page. It was titled something like YouTube musicians can't play live, and I think it was a link to a Mary Spender video. That it's a little bit of a maybe. I love Mary. It was a little bit of a clickbaity title though, but that gets people to watch, right? And Mary's great live. I've seen her do her solo thing. She's very talented, and that she's goes out and gigs and does things. But anyway, of course, the sort of, if you take the thread title and the video title just at face value, you might think like, oh yeah, YouTube musicians, they can't play or whatever. But I think it's funny that people think of me at all as a YouTuber, because it's like I signed my first record deal and became what I consider to be a professional musician in about 1995. So that would be well before, at least a few years before any sort of internet was broadly starting to gain acceptance and use. And then I was in, by 96 or 7, I was in another signed band. I signed another deal with another band in like 99, 2000, 99, 2000, 2001. I was like starting to tour a lot with different people. 2002, I was in another signed band, 40 Foot Echo, and then most people, if they know me for, getting out and playing live, it's the stuff that came after that, Draco, Jewel, Cornell, Melissa Etheridge, Don Henley, and all that stuff. But all that, I mean, Henley, that was post Chris Cornell. I mean, I was barely doing YouTube then, and so it was like, hey, I had a whole like 15-year career before I ever started really doing YouTube. So it was like, oh, he's a YouTuber. It's just funny. I mean, I get it. Like, people don't, you can't expect people to follow your whole damn career, right? So it's like, but that's true, Can a guitar be denied if you buy it a plane ticket? Denied? You mean like not allowed on board, or you mean like if you buy it a plane ticket, it must be really legit as a good guitar? I don't know. I doubt there's a lot of people buying plane tickets for guitars right now, other than like, Bonamassa and stuff, because like it's expensive to fly, kind of, I'm finding, and also those flights are so oversold and stuff. I wonder if like Joe ever has problems with that. We must bump your guitar because, if all the overselling situations. Like, I went to check in for my flight today, and I got a message on my phone. You can change flights for $450 credit, and they go from there. If they can't find people, they're like, okay, $800, okay, $1,000, okay, $2,000. How the flying is these days. It's crazy. So I think I already answered that. Yeah, Richard, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that, man. I am going to head down to the bottom of Chatter. I got to go about 9 minutes, so go get stick. My alarm's going to go off, and then I'm going to run because I'm got to get packed and all that. I'm almost packed, but Yeah. Okay. What else? What else? Anybody know what Pete uses for drums? I use Superior Drummer, Superior 3. Sometimes I still use Easy Drummer because it's great and simple. I have Steven Slate drums. I haven't used it a lot recently, but it's really good. It's just I love the interface with Superior. It's really easy to string together a song and find great grooves, and I got kind of integrated into their sort of ecosystem as far as grooves and the way that, you know, and it just works great. So their mixer and all that, it's really cool. Let's see. I like all that stuff. I also use some other drum plugins. Occasionally, I still use Apple Drummer, Logic Drummer, or whatever it's called. And I also use a little bit of the native Contact. I'll use the Butch Vig drums in there, which are amazing. It's not a ton of different stuff groove wise and sound wise, but what's in there is incredible and really unique. So I like that a lot. Let's see. Any dual overdrive that you really like? I like the JHS Sweet Tea, I think it was, which is it's an Angry Charlie on one side and then a Screamer on the other side. It's a great combo. It's basically Marshally drive for your rhythm sound, JCM Editor style, and then a Screamer. So that's really cool. I also really like the engine from Dry Bell. That's a killer pedal. It is like a Plexi with a Rangemaster. Killer. Also, the BE is nice. The dual one, that's great too. Stealth Parrot says, I think the people that follow you on YouTube are fully aware you have many obligations. I appreciate that, man. Thanks. You guys are making me feel better today. Thanks. There are players with lots of credit because they play fast but cannot write a decent melody. Do you feel underrated? I guess you're saying that I can write good melodies. I appreciate that. No, I don't. I mean, melody is really important to me. Moving people with, or like myself primarily, and then other people, if they like it, they'll respond too. But being your own worst critic as far as like writing a good song or melody is what's most important to me. Like I want to feel something when I play something. And I'm really proud of my work, actually. Like without sounding, I don't know, it's a weird thing to think, but I listened to like Remember the other day, the last song on Pete Thorn 2. I am so proud of that. Like I've got, like, there's not a note I would change. And I love the way it came out. And, that style is where I sort of feel most comfortable, living in. Like I want to write things that make you feel something. I don't know, whether it's humor or melancholy or whatever. That's music to me, And I love when people, guitar players, like my buddy Chris Buck, he's a great example. Who's, by the way, his band Cardinal Black's going to be opening the Peter Frampton shows in England, Peter's final tour, and which winds up at Royal Albert Hall. And I'm so stoked for Chris and for Peter, because that's great. It's beautiful, really. It's like if it's going to be Peter's kind of final shows over there and stuff, and then Chris, what could be? I mean, they're both very melodic, brilliant melodic guitar players, and Chris is a young guy that is a lovely guy, and deserves to kind of, it's, maybe somewhat of a passing of the torch thing going on there. I just feels good to me. I actually introduced Peter to Chris a while back, and I said, normally I would think Peter, he knows all about music and everything else, but I said, you got to hear this guy and his band. It's wonderful, just give him a listen. Anyways, that's formed the whole thing, and now Chris is opening the tour. So I'm just so stoked for him, and they're two great. One of my favorite things to do is putting people together. Like if I'm like, this guy's great, this guy's, whether it's musicians or not, but just like, you guys are going to be friends. Like you guys got to know one another. I love doing that in life. It's really fun. So, anyways, if you're in the UK, see if you can check out the tour. It's going to be a great night of guitar, man. Do I think AC/DC will go back on tour? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's a good question. I love Brian. I love Angus. I don't know about you guys. I wasn't really like I feel even bad saying this. I wasn't really that into that last AC/DC album. It just felt a little flat for me when I listened to even the old like Stiff Upper Lip, Ball Breaker, those albums. You know, I Feel Safe in New York City. You know that song. Such a cool tune and Black Ice and stuff. There was some really good stuff in there. I just didn't. It didn't. I tried with the last one, but I just didn't get that into it. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with bowing out gracefully and saying we're done or whatever. I don't think we've seen the last from them, and maybe they will do a whole nother album tour. Who knows? It'd be great if they did an amazing, I love the did you guys watch the Rush documentary on kind of the last Rush show that, and everybody kind of knew it was going to be the last Rush show. Like, it's really moving, man. It's on Netflix, I think. And it focuses a lot on the fans and the kind of fans that kind of make the world go around in music, which are the ones that show up at the gig and show up at the next gig and then at the next gig, and they've got tickets on. Rush definitely had that. And it's really beautiful, man. That movie about it's moving, like how it was a big deal at the end of the last show when Neil kind of came down and did a hug with the guys, because he never did that, And the fact that he just kind of came down there, put his arm around the guys, gave a little like, and then he was gone. And that was the last Rush show. It's kind of crazy, It's interesting, but it would be Richard says, hard to be AC/DC without Malcolm. I really I feel that too, man. I love Stevie, and I love that they've been out playing and stuff, but that guy, he's like it's like that's a big blow to AC/DC not having him there. I feel that way about all the guys, though. I feel that way about Cliff. It's just AC/DC is a unit, and the fact that it's actually like they were able to get back to the lineup that was kind of the classic 1980. I mean, after Bond died, nothing you can do about that. They've lost a singer, and then Brian comes in. They have this triumphant couple of albums that were just killer after that. And the fact that that's the kind of the core band that, in the early 2000s or whatever was there, it's like, that's brilliant, to me. So that works. But then when Malcolm's gone, it's like, ooh, it's tough, Stevie does a great job. But it's a tough one. So same when Phil Rudd wasn't in the band, such a great pocket. Yeah, Phil was like, God bless Chris Slade. He did some great, Thunderstruck's a great tune. They did some cool stuff, but like Phil was that's the thing, right? It's like, it's like GNR with I'm totally spacing on the drummer's name now. Original drummer. Somebody help me out quick. I sound like an idiot. Oh, there's my alarm. Saved by the Bell. What the heck? Adler, Adler was like, to me, similar. Like, he had this thing, like just like a pocket. It's hard because it's like, that's hard to replicate, like a drummer's pocket. Anyways, guys, well, I gotta go. Let's take a look and see where I'm going to be next week. So yeah, next week I'll be in Malta, and it'll be a day off. So I'll probably try and do this around the usual time, around 11:30. It'll be evening there, and so it should be same time, same place. I may not do it for super long next week. I may go an hour and something, because I'll be in Malta. I want to go look around or whatever. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll be like, what, I'm exhausted. Let's hang for 2 hours, but we'll see. So next week, same time, same place. Yeah, Malta, says Fabio. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I'm leaving. I got to go pack right now, leaving about an hour, and go to the airport and going to Heathrow, going to London and doing a television show in London, and then getting on a plane the day after that to go to Malta. So I'll be over there and playing a show next weekend. It's I think Friday night. Next Friday. It's weird to think next Friday I'll be playing in Malta, but yeah, Friday night. So see you next week, guys. It'll be interesting. Maybe I'll have like a cool view or something next week, or maybe I'll be facing a wall, depending on the hotel room I get. You never know, but we'll see. All right, you guys. Love you all. Everybody have a great week. Be safe. And thanks for your super chats. Thanks for all your support. Have a terrific time out there. Be nice to one another. That's all we got. And I'll see you next week. Over and out.